Welcome back to 26 North Halstead. Today, in this part of the program at least, we're talking about alcohol abuse. We're moving on to talk about treatment. The Community Counseling Centers of Chicago is one place many people find the help that they need. Linda Malmstrom is the program director. Linda, thank you for joining us here.
Thank you for this opportunity.
Before the program, when we were in the lobby today, we were talking a little bit about, in these trying economic times and all these problems going on in war around the world, it's having an impact on stress and stressing people out. And I guess you see an increase in people abusing, whether it's alcohol or drugs or some other things. This kind of increases the problem that we see here. Let's talk a little bit about the impact of our environment and our society on treatment.
Well, absolutely. I think people are feeling more trapped with fewer choices. I have more clients right now unemployed and unable to find a job than I've ever had before. People who have always been able to get a job quickly. Therefore, when they're in treatment and they're doing everything right, and the outcome isn't happening, they wonder, well, maybe going back to using alcohol or marijuana or something else is fine. What's the difference? When I was sober, my life didn't get any better. So I think they're really feeling trapped.
It's vital to understand and to look at this from the perspective that this is a disease. It's not necessarily a choice. When we're talking about alcohol abuse, people think, well, you chose to go out and drink. You want to drink when you want to. It is a disease. It's an addiction. There's an addictive part of it, physiologically speaking.
American Medical Society accepted it as a disease many years ago, over 50 years ago. But there are still people in society that see it as a choice. And it's not. Once someone goes past a certain threshold, the brain doesn't give them a choice about using anymore or how much they're going to use. And family members and other people just say, just don't use. And it would be wonderful if that were true. It would be wonderful if we could just say no, and that was an effective treatment, but it's not.
Elizabeth Kovacs from Loyola brought the statistic that between 3 and 4 drinks in a sitting, depending on if you're male or female, is considered binge drinking by professional statistics. When do we know that you have a problem, I guess is what it is? Because that doesn't seem like a lot when you ask the average person how many drinks they have when they sit down at a bar. How do you know if you have a problem? How does someone who needs treatment know that it's time to get there?
Well, many people don't know they have a problem and someone else identifies it for them. But I think the most important thing in a change in treatment has been the willingness to accept a person when they come in right where they're at. If they don't believe they have a substance use disorder, we'll ask them, well, what would you like different in your life? And we'll start from there, and with time and education, they frequently come to realize that their substance use is a factor in keeping them from achieving their goals. So while it would be wonderful if everyone came to us and said, I think I have an alcohol problem, we're prepared for the fact that most people will just come to us and say, I have a problem. And our job will be to help them identify that and to find some solutions.
There seems to be a very laissez-faire attitude towards treatment. When you look at, Hollywood celebrities, like, hey, I'm on drugs, I'll go to rehab, hang out in the Caribbean for a week, now I'm off drugs, next week, oh, I gotta go to rehab again, almost like it's a vacation in between drug binges. I get this is having a negative effect, I would think, on the perception of what treatment really is about. It's really a tough thing for people to get through. It's a tough thing to commit to. How do you know when you're cured?
Oh, absolutely. We now know that the type of treatment is less important than the duration of treatment. We know there's sort of this point at 3 months, if someone stayed in treatment, that they begin to start seeing change. They begin to start feeling better. But it's hard to keep someone in treatment for 90 days. In the beginning, they feel terrible. Not using doesn't feel good. So our goal is to keep them there long enough. And the concept of cure, we don't ask people to be cured of diabetes. We don't ask them to be cured of epilepsy. Instead, we ask them to have their disease controlled, be it controlled by a decision not to use, be it controlled by there are certain medications now that cut cravings, but we look at the goal of having their disease controlled so that their life can improve.
Certainly, it may mean a major change in the circumstances around your life, the way you hang out socially, the people you associate with, the things you used to do. In many cases, you're not going to be able to do anymore if you're going to be successful in the treatment.
Absolutely. We believe that it's a biopsychosocial, spiritual disease, which means you have to be healed biologically, psychologically, socially, and have a spiritual change, have hope that your life really can be different. And so yes, people let go of friends, they let go of activities that they associate with using, at least in the beginning of their recovery, so they have a better chance to heal
Is it more difficult depending on your age? I mean, is it more difficult for a teenager, let's say, who comes into treatment to be successful at it than someone who's 40 or 50 years old?
I'm not sure age makes a difference. I think that, again, the program needs to be geared towards the needs of the person, including age factors. But I also know that, or we know that, adolescents who start using young actually progress through the disease faster. And if they use multiple substances, that progresses them further. And obviously, the further you go in your disease, the sicker you are, the harder it is to get well.
Let's talk about treatment at C4. What's the intake process like? How do you actually get there?
You call our call center and you get an appointment for an assessment. The goal of the assessment is to determine, do you have a substance use disorder and what level of care you need. At C4, we only offer early intervention, which is prevention, level 1, which is outpatient, and level 2, which is intensive outpatient, which means you're at treatment a minimum of 9 hours a week. People who need a more intensive level of care, such as detox, we refer to appropriate resources.
Is there a cost involved in the treatment?
We do have a cost, but we work on a sliding fee scale, and we absolutely will not turn away anyone just because they have an inability to pay. They want help, we're there to help them.
It's interesting, recently this summer I had a chance to talk with the sheriff of Lake County, talking about the aspects of law enforcement where he spends a lot of his time dealing with things that are a health issue and not a law enforcement issue. It seems that maybe perhaps the cost of treatment, the availability of it, if we could make it more open to a more broader range of people, make it less of a stigma attached to it, perhaps we could solve a lot of these other problems we have in terms of crime and what have you.
Studies show $1 investment in treatment saves you $7 in the cost of the disease going untreated.
You've spent over 20 years in the treatment area. What is it that really drove you to commit to this life?
I wanted to be a social worker, and for some reason I ended up in substance abuse, and then was really given a gift of being able to work with people who have co-occurring disorders, which are both substance use disorders and mental illness. And I've been able to work with them throughout my career, and especially at C4. And they truly give me the gift of letting me be in their lives.
Well, Linda, thank you so much for joining us and sharing your thoughts with us on this important topic. Community Counseling Centers of Chicago, www.c4chicago.org. If you need help or you need more information, go there. We're going to take a short break. When we return, we're going to talk about Camp Hope and keeping promises. Stay tuned. This is your city, Chicago. But what's going on in your neighborhood? Do you have a topic you'd like to see discussed on our program? If you do, send us an email at 26nhalstead@wciu.com, or you can mail us at 26 North Halstead Show, 26 North Halstead Street, Chicago, Illinois, 60661. We're here for you, Chicago.
Can't
Made
resist.
you,
Yeah.
please.
He gave me an offer I couldn't resist. Food at the Greek restaurant
Oh,
Oh, did I say that?
or the cafeteria, you had a choice.